Tier list for professions in Midnight. I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours in the last few months doing everything possible profession related on the beta. So today we're going to cover every single profession. Guides are coming for every single profession soon enough, so stay tuned to the channel for that. This is not a tier list comparing concentration between professions. I'm ignoring that completely here because I've also done a tier list video for profession concentration as well, so keep an eye out for that. Let's get into it then. C tier fishing. Spent a lot of time fishing on the Midnight beta. I appreciate some of the changes we have in fishing this expansion. Firstly, we have been given a rare drop mount. This is always nice. It's even an updated Burning Crusade model, if you can call this updated. I love this new mechanic. We get treasure chests that spawn that we have to loot, and these can have all sorts of goodies in them. The Blood Hunters made me lol the first time I fished these up as well when the spirit fish comes back to attack you. This is going to be kind of annoying for fishing bots. We also get more interesting fishing pulls, I feel, than ever before. The Careless Cargo ones drop all sorts of goodies like moats, pearls, profession recipes, that sort of stuff. We get blooms and a few different other mechanics. I'll cover all this in more detail in my actual fishing video. This all looks great, but at the end of the day, it's a secondary profession and it's probably not going to compare to the likes of the main gathering professions in what it can earn in gold per hour. And at the end of the day, that is what we're really doing this for. Cooking is going into C tier. Cooking mostly looks like it did last expansion as far as what it can produce. A large choice of food buffs, feasts, but we also have teas added in Midnight. We use these to get buffs to speed and one of the farming profession stats, so that's finesse, perception, or deftness. These are nice and they should do really well. Some crafting ones would have been nice as well though. Cooking is a bit simpler this time. We only have the option to break down fish into fillets. We've lost a lot of that multi-stage crafting that made cooking do so well at times last expansion. Cooking also kind of gets hurt by the Moxie changes. Previously you needed to use Artisan Acuity to make profession gear for cooking. Now that Moxie is tied to your profession and there is no Moxie for cooking, it means that all the profession gear can be crafted perfectly day one. On top of that, cooking leveling up is really easy. It's by far the simplest profession to get to capped profession skill. So therefore we've got a situation whereby we can get the profession gear really easy, we can get leveled up really easy, and it's a secondary profession so everybody can use it. So the amount of barriers to entry we have for cooking is just too low. So that's why it gets a C tier. Leatherworking, C tier. Leatherworking seems like a copy paste from the War Within, but with one important change. They have sorted out the issues of over-skilling on crafts that allowed us to make so much stuff with low-rank materials, and that kind of sucked really for the profession. We have a lot less craftable hides this expansion, so we just have scale-woven hide and infused scale-woven hide. No 6 different hides or whatever it was last expansion, although this does feel like a bit of a nerf if you are looking at it from a gold-making perspective. Besides that, everything else here is going to feel very familiar. Armor kits, embellishments, weapons, armor intermediate crafts, drums, same old leatherworking. Now at the end here, I just want to add that leatherworking was frequently the profession in War Within that had the highest profit margins. It's just that what it makes was slower selling in comparison to other professions. That doesn't make it bad, that just makes it different. Blacksmithing C tier. Firstly, the best change to blacksmithing ever. They got rid of the ever burning buff, so you don't need to keep messing around with that anymore. I hated that last expansion. So if that's gone, then why is blacksmithing only a C tier? Well, for me, nothing's really replaced the ever-burning buff. We get some profession stats, but blacksmithing has been left as the profession with the worst stat scaling in Midnight. Blacksmithing in Midnight just feels a bit bare. Nothing has changed with profession gear or gear crafting, but what we have elsewhere is kind of getting a bit dire. The likes of frameworks are gone, the new equivalents have been added to Patreon order rewards, so we're down to just 3 different alloy crafts. The stone crafts are still here, but this just makes blacksmithing feel kind of underwhelming. It's mostly just going to be alloy crafting spam. Now there's nothing wrong with this. Alloys sell at an insane rate, like they did last expansion. They will just carry on doing that. Blacksmiths will do fine, but it just feels a bit meh to me. Skinning B tier. I have enjoyed skinning in the beta. I've put some crazy hours into this profession. We have this new high value beast system where you can see them on the minimap. Basically normal beasts that you can kill, but they have better skinning loot. Kind of feel that this system is pretty dead on arrival. I think the idea is really cool and I would love to have seen more done, But at the moment, all you get is more leather and hide than normal, which is fine, but getting more leather and hide is not going to compare with the good farm. For example, I have a farm that's about 1,000 hide and 3,000 leather per hour, and that video will be releasing at a later date. So there's no way that somebody solo farming high value beasts is going to come close to those numbers. So just like I said, it just kind of feels dead on arrival. It's a pity they didn't add some sort of unique skinning material to the system to make it so the high value beast kind of like solo farming build would be viable. Hopefully that will come in the future because this looks great and it will give us a completely new way of doing skinning. I like the majestic items this expansion. In the War Within we had this superb beast fang from daily skinning summons. Well, this time we have 3 items: majestic claw, majestic hide and majestic thing. This stuff is great and hopefully this is going to work out really well. Another option for those with alt armies and want to put a bit more time into them than just concentration. The meat versions of skinning still suck. These badly need a rework and is just basically a write-off for the expansion as soon as we start. Overall, some nice stuff here for skinning. We're moving in the right direction, but still things that could be done a little bit better. Tailoring B tier. Tailoring was one of my favourite professions in the War Within, but I don't think it will be in Midnight. Firstly, we have lost unravelling, and this is kind of huge. Losing a stage of crafting always sucks. That really reduces the gold making potential. So now we just go directly from cloth to bolts to like the new kind of imbued bolts, not cloth to spools to bolts that we had last expansion. Fine. What hurts even more here is that the unravelling stage we have lost was a resourcefulness craft. You needed to switch between a multi-craft and resourcefulness crafting last expansion. This put more of a barrier to entry to this and is probably the reason why bolt crafting last expansion was just easy gold. Basic bolts this expansion suck. They will sell for sure, but it's just all too easy. I mean, easy in one sense, not easy in the sense that rank 2 crafting needs like 250 knowledge points spread across 3 different knowledge trees. Blizzard simplified the areas as a profession users just did not want simplifying and kept the crazy complex knowledge requirements. First to rank 2 market here could do well though. I have more hope for the cooldown bolts this expansion. That's Sunfire Silk Bolt and Arcanoid Bolt. Last expansion their equivalents were using about 8 crafts each, I think at launch. This expansion it's over 3 times as many crafts, including more with ongoing demand like things like enchants, so we do have more potential here. Also, the spell threads have been taken out the knowledge tree and put on a reputation vendors and raid drops, so maybe these markets won't be as swamped. In addition to this, cloth farming with the cloth farming build doesn't seem as amazing this expansion either, so that's another factor too. I will have a general bolt crafter in Midnight, but it won't be one of my main crafters like it was in the War Within. Engineering B tier. I feel like coming into Midnight, engineering has done pretty well. Okay, first bad. We do not get a new mount in this expansion. We are also down to 2 crafted parts as well, but that's pretty much where the pruning ends. Recycling is a very interesting new mechanic, so we are breaking down Midnight crafts from all professions, and we get Ethelum and Evercores as output. So these are vital crafting components in our engineering crafts. So engineering is completely reliant on breaking down crafts from every profession, and it's not like a similar process in the War Within when it was just to farm mount parts. This is to do all of our crafting, so that's very interesting. Now engineering has lots of craft, so I'm not going to go through everything, but what really stands out to me is the return of ammo and scopes to engineering. I actually did well with these in Dragonflight, so it's nice to see these kind of crafts return that have continued demand and can help engineers actually have something to sell other than parts. So engineering then, no new mounts, parts pruned, but recycling is awesome for those of us who like spreadsheets, and the ammo and scopes are real long-term gold makers as long as they are competitive in BIS lists. Enchanting B tier. This video has nothing to do with concentration. I imagine if this was a concentration video, this might do better, but keep an eye out for the concentration tier list closer to Midnight release. It was widely seen that Enchanting didn't make any gold outside of concentration, but this simply wasn't true. Even certain max rank enchants crafted without concentration did pretty well last expansion, or like lower tier enchants were not terrible either. Oils did pretty well for those that wanted to be involved with that too. Now we have lost the optional regent crafting, so mirror powder etc and stuff. This stuff was occasionally nice, so it's a pity to lose that. But overall with base enchanting, nothing has really changed. Now it's probably not the crafting that gets Enchanting into the B tier, but it's probably the Disenchanting and the Shattering that really pushes it there. Disenchanting is what it is, nothing's changed there. Having Shattering in from the start of the expansion, and us having Dawn Shatter as well as Radiant Shatter, so we can shatter epic crystals and rare shards, is interesting. These are probably what is grabbing me and making me push Enchanting into a B tier. Now before we get to our last few professions, I just want to say here that we're going to have loads, about 20 plus profession guides I'm aiming for on the Gold Making Community Discord that are free to everyone. Feel free to come and join us if you want to use these when they release just before midnight. Link to join is in the description below. Alchemy, B tier. Alchemy is much simpler this expansion. The knowledge requirements to not only craft at rank 2, but even for sort of like a baseline craft are much simpler. Now we basically have this system by rather than having to put knowledge points into loads of different herbs, you basically just put points where you want them. If you want to craft flasks, just put points in flasks. If you want to craft void potions, you just put points into void potions. It's a lot simpler, and it's also the knowledge point requirements, like I said, are a lot lower than they were last time. Potions, flasks, vials, the actual stuff that we are crafting has pretty much not changed. Material requirements are a bit lower, which is fine for general crafters. It's probably going to mean alchemy is not quite as strong as a concentration craft as it was last expansion. But because we have this new system, whereby we no longer have these RNG recipe discoveries, we just buy what we want from the cauldron using Moxie and usually some herbs, then because we have this system, it's sort of like helping with the concentration crafters in that sense. Transmutes is looking more interesting in this expansion. So we have moat transmute. So this is turning one sort of moat into another sort of moat. And like I said, these moats are quite widely used. So this could end up being the kind of shuffle we can do through the whole expansion. Now we do have these material transmutes that we can kind of do, but this stuff seems like a really nerfed down, simplified former. I don't know how well this is actually going to work. It has really hit alchemy that it's lost former, because that was kind of huge last expansion, and we don't have a wide scale replacement. We have these somewhat stopgap replacements, but we'll have to see how this turns out throughout this expansion. We also have the Wondrous Synergist. So this is just a cooldown craft, and these go into cauldrons. So there should be some demand here for those people that do decide to go down the transmute cooldown route, which might be nice for alt armors. Overall, alchemy is fine. It is not a lot has changed here from the perspective of what you're going to craft. The knowledge tree has changed, and we've lost formatology, which is kind of huge. But besides that, alchemy is pretty much where it was last expansion. Mining and herbalism, A tier. We will look at these together. I like mining and herbalism, and perhaps I overrate them a little bit. But at the end of the day, most players don't want to form groups to make gold, and especially at the start of the expansion, this is just great, easy, hassle-free way to make gold without having to think about it too much, and you can do it whenever you want. For a lot of players who don't want to mess around with the profession system, this is how they make their millions in early midnight. I think for 90+% of players, they should just run the basic default build that's on the Discord, but we have the moat farming builds possible here as well. This is interesting as well, as these moats are widely used throughout professions, so it's going to be interesting to see what the prices of these end up being. There's not really much else to say here. This is just going to be good for the majority of farming solo players. Inscription, A tier. Inscription was probably my main go-to craft the last expansion, and it looks like it could well be again. So the bad news first. The one thing I don't like about what's happened with Inscription this expansion is that the knowledge tree has been kind of nerfed. It now takes only 50 knowledge points instead of, I think, 90 last expansion to max out the multicraft and resourcefulness nodes. That's a bit sucky. It's just kind of a bit too easy to set up, really. But that's it, really. A small nerf, but not world-ending. Milling has stayed in place as a resourcefulness craft. Unlike with tailoring and unraveling, that's huge. Every other craft is pretty much the same. Contract mats took a bit of a hit. Most crafts took a bit of a hit, to be fair, with the mat prices. Ciphers won't be quite in demand as last expansion, but they'll do fine. Overall, with Inscription, there is just so much stuff that you can craft. Inscription is just going to keep its place as the king of vertical integration, crafting at all stages, easy profits for the entire expansion for those who know how to calculate profit margins like this. We have inscribing and transcribing as well. As of recording, this is still not and has never worked on the beta. We are now just a few weeks away from release, so I don't know if this is going to get sorted before then, but this was a nice little Dark Moon card shuffle added to Inscription as well, if it ever works. I will definitely be running an Inscription crafter in Midnight. Jewelcrafting has seen one of the biggest overhauls of the profession that has happened without really much changing with the profession. We now have ranks put on all the materials within Jewelcrafting: glass, stone, raw gems, including raw epic gems. All the stuff that has never had ranks on it before now suddenly does. This is a huge shift with Jewelcrafting, and until we actually see this in action, we don't really know how this will end up working. Now, we have seen some nerfs to some crafts. Rare gems in particular need a lot less resources, but for general crafters, this is actually a good thing. On a concentration tier list, less mats is bad, but when we are talking about general crafting, it's good, as it's easier for general crafters to compete with concentration crafters then. Vials has probably seen the biggest nerf, as you will only be crafting these at the top rank 2 vials now. Seeing as the rank 1 vials you can get from a vendor, we don't have this middle rank anymore that we can craft when it comes to vials. This could potentially affect glass prices this expansion as well. I've always liked prospecting and gem crushing, and those are not going anywhere. In fact, they have gotten much more interesting now that we have these different ranks as output. I don't necessarily think Jewelcrafting is the profession with the highest gold making potential this expansion, but to me it's definitely the most interesting one, and it's my tier list, so it gets an A rating based on that, although there's plenty of other good stuff to do here as well. So that's my Midnight profession tier list. It's going to be interesting to see how it all turns out. If this video was helpful, please leave it a like, it really helps me out. Let me know in the comments below, do you agree with my list? Or what professions will you be running